So we're gonna correct what I had just said. When the first decision was made to build the tower, people as a whole, vayomru, with a gershayim, a parallel note, came to that decision, and they said that they were going to try to do something positive.
Wait, the gershayim is the parallel note?
The gershayim is two notes that are two lines that are parallel to each other.
And before you interpreted it as
wait. And they were trying to say, how about nivna, that we're going to build, v'naseh lanu shem. We're going to build something, and we're going to make something. So we're going to try and take this paralleling of thoughts, everybody thinking the same way, and build something out of it. And if we read the second half of that sentence, pen nafutz, lest we be dispersed. So we're going to try and take this concept of our parallel thoughts and turn it into something constructive, because otherwise we're going to be dispersed over the face of the lands. This sentence, Vayafetz, God is going to disperse them, ends in the concept of Vayachtelu, ends in the concept of them having to stop to build. So,
but I think what he said,
okay, so go ahead.
No, I think the parallel is in the word Vayafetz and Nafutz, obviously. That's the parallel word. It's the same word.
I understand, but it's not what he's saying here. So he says marked by a parallel reading sign.
But
so Vayomru has a parallel reading sign, has a gershayim, which are two lines that are parallel to each other.
But Vayachtelu doesn't.
So Vayomru, the people thinking in parallel, people thinking all the same things, were going to try to build and accomplish. And Vayafetz, with a single line, with a pashta, is going to say that God is going to separate them out, and when they're separated out, Vayachtelu, they are going to end up with not being able to continue and having to stop the construction. So this is not, don't forget, this is whenever we have something that's marked as an additional note, this is not something that's following the parish. This is not something that's following those rules that we said at the beginning of each note having a particular function. Rather, this is an additional comment that is being added either from another source or from another method of derivation. So this is just another interesting fact about that word is. So it does not follow the rules or concepts that we've laid out for the notes before. So he's trying to bring forward yet another interesting thing about the idea of when they're thinking in parallel, they're trying to build, and when they're separated out and single, Vayafetz, with a single note on it, then Vayachtelu, that they have to stop to stop the construction.
But it is interesting that Vayafetz and Nafutz are in those two sentences.
And that's the question. That's why we certainly are allowed to take these sentences and to try to learn from the one to the other, because we have a similar verb. So that I think is the parallel that we're trying to draw here, and we will move on. Livnot with a mercha. This has a slight connection to what has gone on before, but mostly pushing us forward into what's going on. The desires and stimuli for building rapidly decayed until they totally vanished, as illustrated by the directional shape of the reading mark. So the building, what they were trying to think that they were going to do before, eventually became really not something that they could do as a group, and therefore, moving forward, it didn't amount to anything. Ha'ir, with a stabilizing sof pasuk, even the completion of the city, which was planned and had already been started, reached a stage of blind alley, entering a position of nowhere. So there were two things. There were two things that they were trying to build. They were trying to build a city, a place where everybody could get together and share ideas and share building techniques and share technology. And they were trying to build a migdal, a tower, where they were going to take their unity of thought and try to rival heaven from there. So the city, which was still something mundane, something earthly that they had started and could have continued, even that didn't manage to survive the punishment that God meted out upon them. So Livnot is perhaps referring to the physical build, the building of the city, the building of even the mundane place where they could share ideas, was what we were talking about. And Ha'ir, the city, just the place where they would dwell and be concentrated, rather than the Migdal. So,
what happens when you violate the zoning laws?
The cautionary tale.
Yes.
So when we read the pasuk out loud, we're going to notice, especially in the first half of the sentence, that we have this pause after the word otam, and a pause again after misham, and we had discussed all the concepts that were involved in that. And vayachtelu, and they stopped, is going to be, and that's they stopped everything. They stopped the migdal and the ear, and they stopped everything. And the ear, that even so, by separating it out as a separate phrase with a pause before it, Livnot ha'ir, is that we're sort of inserting this word even, and they stopped to build even the city, and that's implied by this extra pause that's there after the tipcha. And again, it's not something that you would find in any other interpretation, I don't think. Vayafet Adoshem Otzaham Misham Al Pnei Chol Haaretz Vayachtelu Livnot Ha'ir. And we'll continue on. We are on page 133, sentence 11, chapter 11, verse 9.
It's not so much that they ceased to build the ear, as they were stopped from being built.
No, so don't forget, they still had the ability to communicate emotionally with each other, and they still had the ability to even build each house and each part for themselves. So Vayaftelu, they themselves decided that they weren't even going to build their own components. So no, it was, I think, a decision that.
What do you mean self-lived? What do you mean?
Okay, but they decided not to live there, because who wants to live in a place where nobody can talk to each other, and you misunderstand each other, and you get into more fights.
I mean, I suppose if you're building Expo, and you can't coordinate how to build Expo together, the hell I'm going to go back to my home and do my own thing.
Yes? We're good? Yeah. You've raised the question, so I want to be sure you're satisfied. Okay. Al-Kain, over, so, very interesting. So al can mean upon. So this is a very, very literal translation. Usually we take al-Kain as a phrase to mean and therefore. So we'll see how this plays.
Which would be very interesting if it had been what is it called?
Zarka.
But it ends with the three.
Segol, okay.
Which would have been funny because I had a good point. I forget what it was. Okay. It was brilliant, but I thought of it and I can't remember. Okay, forget it.
Hopefully we'll have it.
Oh no, I know what I mean. Yeah, I know what I mean.
Okay.
Because we translated therefore, and in English, therefore isn't it therefore? That's what I meant.
So the symbol
You
of
get
logic
it,
for
either?
therefore is a triangle with three
Is
dots.
that segol? I'm glad I thought of it because I know.
However, we're saying that this does not mean therefore; it means over al.
I'm not using the segol anyway, so it's
So we're not using that anyways, and that's why it couldn't be a segol.
That's right.
What
does segol be therefore?
And
then who knows? Who knows?
Segol never comes out at the beginning of a sentence. So.
But yeah, exactly. But who knows if the word segol, if the sign for therefore comes from. Okay, now I'm pushing it too much. Okay, whatever. Okay.
Agreed. I don't
No,
find
the same
a
way
connection,
the
but
sign for infinity, is that 8 sort of, and 8 is made out, so there is a connection. Why is the sign for infinity a sideways 8? And 8 is, like infinity, and all that, and, so the sign, it's all connected. Okay, whatever. Now, did we ever say it was Tavir? I brought it up many times. How do you spell belly button? Tabor. Because it looks like a belly button. There's notes. And we said it is the same spelling, a top, a bait, and a resh. Har Tavor. Oh, okay, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It is. A belly button. It's not Tabor with a tat bait, right? Because then it would throw. Oh, so that's good. So it makes sense that nose is called. It has to come from that root.
But Haktavor.
Because it looks.
Haktavor is an Audi, not an Eni. Important to know.
Every mountain has to be an Audi.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Al-Kain with the Gershayim, we have a two-parted note that is looking backwards at what has happened from before, and will have possibly a doubled meaning. The social disorder, Gershayim,
That is a Gershayim.
the social disorder due to lack of communication by a common language was manifest over so many areas of social and personal life that a name was applied for the place to signify the characteristic of that condition, as indicated by the reverse direction of the reading mark. So it's going to look back. He doesn't mention a lot of the doubledness here, but we had been talking in the previous sentence that we were talking about both the construction of just a centralized place for everybody to live, and a place where the tower with the ear would be, and a place where the migdal would be, a place where the tower would be, where they could try to press their ideas of rebellion against heaven. So I think the doubledness, looking backwards, looks at those two concepts, although he doesn't mention it. But he says social and personal life. So I'm not sure, that might be what he's referring to. So we do have two concepts, and they are both backwards looking. We're going to give this city a particular name so that it will always stand for what was imposed on it. Kara was called. This is a mapach, so this is something that's going to take what's happened from before and funnel it into an area with more focus. The location was called by a descriptive denomination to depict the essence of the punishing event, as shown by the shape of the reading mark. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this whole story and we're going to focus it into a single point that is going to tell us what we were supposed to have learned here. The name that is going to be given is going to be something that's going to make this concept stick and be relevant for future times. Shema.
Wait, you don't need pauses for us to comment, no?
Go ahead.
No, and I want to benefit from your also. So is that refresh my memory that the same way that Gida Nasher, was a physical reminder of the story that had happened with the angel, and isn't the word Al-Kain used there also?
Yes.
So that's interesting also, right? It's the same, right? So why did you explain that? Why it's over so and not therefore?
I didn't explain it other than to say that we're trying to
I don't know what over so
we're trying to look at the way that he conceptualized in his mind Dr. Seaman, the way that he conceptualized in his mind writing this perush, and the way that he's writing it is that each word lives a life of its own.
Right.
Each word lives on itself, and you have to interpret it as its own word, even when it has a makaf, even when it's connected to the next word, it stands alone. So we have to read al as something that is by itself, even if it's al-kain. So we have to say on, above, over, al-kain.
I thought you said that.
So we're not taking it as a phrase, al-kain, therefore.
Even though there's only one note?
Even though it's only one note. So they only get one paragraph to explain it. But the words live in and of themselves, even though they're getting only one paragraph of explanation because it's only assigned one note.
Okay, so how does it? Okay, so still, so how does that manifest? What does over so mean? I don't even know what that means.
It's a literal translation of each word.
Yeah.
Okay,
but still,
but again, when he puts it into a sentence, the social disorder was manifest over so many areas. So he's turned it into a sentence where that fits. And again, you have to have the mindset of interpreting each word on itself in order to have come out with Al Kain being over so. Even though they get one paragraph because they've got one single reading mark. Kara, Shema, number 3, its name.
Is ear feminine or masculine?
Sorry?
Ear. Is it feminine?
Where are you?
City. No, it's ear. The word ear, not ear.
Yes.
It should be feminine according to this, right? Okay, crush my. It's talking about the name of the. Yeah,
I
ear
think so,
kana.
yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that's good. So Shema makes sense.
Shema, its name,
Supposed
feminine. Number 3, Pashta. This is going to slightly emphasize the word and push us forward to what's going to come afterwards. Number 3, thus, its name represented a condensed symbol of a widespread process as stressed by the directional shape of the reading mark. So it's going to push us forwards from here into what we're going to see afterwards. Bavel, with a katon. This is a 2-part note. Even the very name Bavel was deformed by pronunciation of Balel, or Balal, I suppose, to confuse Balal, as pointed out by the bipartite shape of the reading mark. So what he's saying is the name should have been called Balal.
It's a Hirsch kind of comment, yeah.
And we're saying that they're so unable to communicate with each other that we've even taken the name and confused the name. So it's confusion on multiple levels, including the ability to clearly express what you want to say. So instead of clearly expressing the name of the city is Balal, they confused even the ability to communicate the name and the unified form was confused. So, as I said, Hirsch comments on this, and this is.
So it should have been Balal. Oh, Hirsch. No, I just
should have been Balal. It should have been Balal.
I don't
should have been
Hirsch,
confused.
How do you know Hirsch says that? No, he does it with another one, like Noach. It's Al Kain Yachamenu. It should be not Menachem. According, but here it's not. Here it should be Navla or Nebel or something. Because
for what it's worth, the words Bab and El, Bab El mean the gate of God. And so there's suggestion that in fact that would be most likely
they were trying to make a god to God.
They're making a gateway to God, Bab El, and that maybe here it got confused or mixed up, so it became Bab El.
No, but that goes with that. It should be Bab El would be so that goes to Bavel or Balal? What you're saying?
That'd be close to Baba.
Well, those that, yeah. Okay.
Baba one.
That's why it's called that. Bab and one.
No, what's that one then?
Bab.
It's a gate, right?
Right.
Otherwise.
Probably to the wadi, to the
wadi.
Or I thought falafel.
But no, what I was thinking about the Noach and Yenachameni, there's the reason. So the original, why was it called? Where does it say Kinavla? It's somewhere here. It says Kinavla Svatam or something. So according to that, I don't know if they say all Cain, not all Cain, but
11:7, one page back. Hava nerda v'navla sham svatam. One page back, 131.
It seems like so long ago. Maybe we did it 2 weeks ago. Okay. So according to that, it should be called Navel instead of Babel or whatever. It's all.
Well, no, that's what we're going to write in there. There, it's written in future tense. Here, it's written in past tense. The city is called the place where things got confused. The thing would be called not Navel. We're going to do it. We're going to confuse them. It should be called past tense.
You know that in Hebrew, past and future are like It sounds like it's a past, but it's really a future. You know.
Well,
like,
no, wait. There's a
Aven
concept
Nadav
of Vav
Navla, and we
Ha'ipuch.
will- oh, that's true,
There's a concept of Vav Ha'ipuch.
Vav
There's the ability of the letter Vav before a verb to
Right.
change its tense.
Right.
There's no Vav in front of Navla, and there's
V'navla.
no
What do you mean?
there's no
V'navla.
Vav in.
Okay,
It doesn't say. Okay.
It says V'navla.
I'm sorry. The Vav Ha'ipuch.
Navla is past. Navla. We will.
But no. V'navla is still future tense because it's a v, not a vav. Vav Ha'ipuch is almost always a patach under the
Oh, I hate
vav.
when that's too complicated.
So-
But just the idea, okay, whatever.
Vayikra, and he will call, is always future. Vayikra is always Vav Ha'ipuch and turned into the past.
But aside from that part.
So no, it's not. It's not. The rule doesn't apply.
I'm not talking
V'navla
about the
doesn't have
tense now.
Vav Ha'ipuch. It's not.
You mentioned the Vav. I'm not talking about the tense now. I'm just talking about the root there is Navla, right? Is Navla closer to Babil or to Balal? That's what I meant. No, because the nun is just Anachman. So Beit Lamed, is Beit Lamed closer to Balal or to what's the other one we're saying?
Bavel.
To Babel. One is doubling, it's equal because one is doubling the Beit and one is doubling the Lamed. So it's equal parts. You know what I mean? That's what I meant. You know what I'm saying? The nun is not part of the verb, of the shorish. So here's Beit Lamed. It's either Beit Lamed or like Babel is Beit Lamed and
Balam.
and Balal is Beit Lamed Lamed. So either way they have a Beit and a Lamed. It's just which of those two letters are you doubling? So even though we said before that even the word is wrong.
Because this is always one of the verbs that I think has 4 letters as a shorish,
No,
not a 3.
it doesn't.
I
What
think
about
it's
the 4 letters?
Lival Bel. To confuse, I think has Beit Lamed Beit Lamed.
Right.
I think the Hebrew root is one of those exceptions.
Yeah,
It's
when
got
it's 4 letters, it's like 4, it's
not
two
3.
letter ones. It's two letter ones. That's what the Malbim
But
says.
but
I'm saying here it doesn't matter because they're both a Beit and a Lamed that are being doubled.
I
So-
understand, and I'm not quite sure that Balal is a shorish, is a 3-letter root for the word confuse. I still think Beit Lamed is the shorish here, but I'm not a grammarian. I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right.
I think there are a couple of exceptions, and this is one of them. That being said, somebody more erudite than me might be able to give a better answer. And now we're on YouTube, and maybe somebody can post a response to that.
All bond is unonomatopeic.
Mhm.
To a degree.
Right. I don't know computers and everything. So this is,
You
it's
have
not
to do
just
that
for your
with your
brothers?
lips?
This is for so do people write in? Don't people can comment? Do people write
People
in
can
to us?
comment that, and we've invited them to.
No, but have they ever?
And now we're going to see if we're going to
Are
get
you out
response,
there?
because this is the first time that we've ever actually asked for this.
But has this been on YouTube already, or has it just gone to Israel? I thought it was just going to your brothers.
It's on YouTube. All the shiur until
They've
last
been-
one
they've
are on
been-
He
YouTube.
doesn't understand the concept.
I don't understand. So I'm saying, oh, so
Anybody can watch it, just like
Yes,
your
but
video
they
with.
not-
they have to
That's what I'm
they have
saying.
to actually want to look for this and find this in order to be so.
So, but we have not gotten comments aside from your brothers, let's say. Good. I want to find good because. Oh, that's the irony of that we're saying no. We, in a way, don't want this to go. It's like we don't want to do the same sin about trying to connect everybody. Although in this case, we want to do tikkun for that. You know what I'm saying? The tikkun for that sin would be to bring all these people all over the world studying this Perush. It's like a thing within a thing. Okay, it's true about you. Okay, go. You're confused. You're balal. You're bewitched, bothered, and bewildered. Balal, like Yotei Vakke is Hayah Habev Yeh. So Balal or Babel is bothered, bewitched, and bewildered. That's in the song. All the
Moving on.
That's all I think.
so Barbara sings it. Don't tell me.
Let us cut through the confusion and continue. Number
That's okay,
5.
Thank you.
Corinne is
Keep
not showing me.
shouting.
I just want everyone out there to know.
Right.
Show them.
Tavir with a sheltering influence to it. Because there, number 5, because there occurred a functional change of a natural disposition in that community, It was indicative of the heavenly intervention by particular controls as denoted by the shape of the reading mark and the expression sham. So again, what we're trying to say here is that God actually changed the way that people were. That people were. That there was no longer this inclination to unite as one to rebel against heaven. He took that out of humanity.
God took away the Yetzer Hara, sort of.
So he didn't take away the Yetzer Hara, but he took away this particular aspect of it. The ability to unite.
The Ratzon to the
natural predisposition. So what he's saying is that there was a tendency within the human spirit to do this before, and that tendency was no longer there.
What to want
to unite for the purpose of rebelling against heaven. So
it is like taking the Yetzer Hara, that famous midrash that really took away.
It's like when he took the nevuah out of the world and he took away their Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah.
But not for
that appetite.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We don't have free choice.
So we'll just leave it at that. So when we have the word sham, we're using that as a keyword to say that this is something that God is manifesting Himself overtly to make a change in the world. Balal with a mercha. So this is likely connected to what's come from before, but mostly moving us forward into what's going to go on. He confused by the example of Bavel, which was initially pronounced Bavel. So did God make a distortion of the interhuman understanding, and He confused the man's mind, as suggested by the directional shape of the reading mark. So this is going to move forward into the way that the world is from here on, that there is no longer going to be this natural predisposition.
Oh, can I just make a, it's interesting that that Babel, the two letters, whether we said before about Beit and Lamed. Where do we know those letters from? Beit and Lamed?
Right.
No, in that order even. Beit, the Torah starts with the Beit, ends with the Lamed. So this is the opposite. People who want to unite against God, and God's Torah unites everyone, unite under Torah from a Beit to a Lamed. Just interesting, no?
Okay, I'm not sure what.
Your
no,
proof.
Le'neko
Yes.
Yisrael.
What's with the
No, ends with Le'neko Yisrael. Okay, Mitzvah. Okay, very good.
That's very good. Don't encourage.
You're reading between the lines, are you? All those words that are written in between the lines. Number 7, Hashem, God's name, with a tikha. So this is going to focus us backwards and close the thought. God effectively prevented the early growth of fruit from the tree of knowledge as expressed by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So we are going all the way back to the Breshit, to the Breshit story and to the Garden of Eden, and saying this is a closing of man's desire to put his interest. So man is given two thoughts after he's created. He's given that you're going to be the most superior thing on the planet, and he's given that God has given you a commandment of something that you are not allowed to do. You're not allowed to eat from the fruit of these two trees. So man has a choice to make when he is in front of the tree. Is he the superior influence on the planet, or is he somebody who has to listen to God's will? He's given both things when he's standing in front of the tree, and he needs to make a choice, and both choices are going to lead him down the path of denying one of the other possibilities that was given him. If he eats from the fruit, then he's disobeyed God's word. If he doesn't eat from the fruit, then he's not fulfilling his destiny to being the supreme being on the planet. So he's presented with priorities where doing one is going to violate the other. So he's always going to be doing something that denies one or the other.
So you're saying
And
it's
he
like
has to choose.
catch-22, or?
He has to choose which thing is going to be the priority above the other, and he's not necessarily given from first principles which thing is the more important one. He's just told, do this, do this. So man has to face that. This is one of Rabbi Hecht's favorite things. He says when you come to the story of quote unquote, as the Christians will tell you, original sin, nowhere in that passage does it mention the word sin. Because it's not a sin. He's given two competing priorities, and he has to choose which is the principle he's going to live by. And we're saying we're closing one of the doors to that, in that man